How are you all doing? Something a bit different for you this week. Rarely do anything different, do I? I won't say too much because I did actually shoot an introduction to the thing I'm really excited to share with you in August last year. Because there's a little bit of me in it with a longer beard, you might think, what's going on? So anyway, I'll cut to that introduction now. It's great to be back up here in Kensal Rise. I did a fantastic project for Brent 2020, London Borough of Culture, working in collaboration with a fantastic Kensal Rise Community Library. I say it was fantastic. For me, it was an amazing experience to create that project. I ended up creating what I called a psychogeographic sound trail. The idea of the project was to create a kind of portrait of the area using the voices of local people, of their anecdotes, their stories, their reminiscences, hearsays, bits of local history. And it was a fantastic experience for me because basically I either went out walking with local people here and recorded what they told me about the area, or I visited some people at home and recorded conversations with them in their homes, and then I placed those recordings around the streets of Kensal Rise on a series of like yellow plaques with a QR code, and you scan the QR code and you could hear the voices of the people of the area. And although that project officially finished, I think, at the end of January 2021, it's great to see some of the yellow plaques still here on the streets of Kensal Rise. What I want to share with you today is some of the footage from those walks and those conversations I had with people when I was gathering the materials. And then I'm going to take you around the sound trail so you can hear some of the voices echoing from the streets of Kensal Rise.
So we're on the corner of Holland Road and All Souls Avenue. And actually All Souls is like a big influence on this area. This is a magical place, really. I mean, it's an oasis in the middle of an area that you would not expect, and it's a triangle. And it's amazing how much wildlife, wildflowers, trees there are here at Elmwood Tennis Court, besides the courts. And I can tell you that it's an amazing community club. It makes sense that this must have been an elm wood at some point.
See, here's Kensal Green, the actual green, which kind of crossed over Kilburn Lane, and it ran alongside the Harrow Road. No, they didn't start calling it Kensal Rise until after they built the road between Willesden Green and Kensal Green.
You can see the Kensal Rise, we've got a Kensal Rise station now, but there's very little building.
It's just been known to me about the distinction between Kensal Rise and Kensal Green, and I literally live on the cusp. If you think about it in terms of the stations, I live right in between both stations, so I never know whether to say Kensal Rise or Kensal Green. I've heard this an estate agent thing, the Kensal Rise and Kensal Green. I think it was always just Kensal Green.
A lot of the land around here was owned by All Souls College, and I think there was a lot of development in the 19th century where they started to, the land itself with the railways started to develop, so the land was worth more. Loads of houses around here still, their leases still belong to All Souls College.
Well, my dad was an air raid warden. He was too old for the forces, of course, but he was an air raid warden. He used to work in the city, used to come home, have something to eat, and then go off for most of the night in there was a warden's post up in Oakhampton Road. The night that they caught the city of London, when London really was burning, you could from the back door around in Lee Gardens, you could see the whole sky, as far as you could see, was red, and that was the city burning.
Dole Meads, the chemist at number 53, was the forerunner of a supermarket. It was David Gregg's, and it had a delicatessen in it, and you would go there and they would cut your ham and serve you butter and all the rest of it, and they knew all the people that went in, and it was a U-shaped counter, and you just went and queued up at little areas that you wanted to get your things from. And up there, carved up there, you see the initials DG, which was for David Greggs.
Hey lady, you lady, you can't get stranded at Kensal Rise. People get off here. They're not meant to get off here, but they get off here. It's like something dragged them off. It's like, come and check out the area. You know what? Kensal Rise have a story, and I'm glad I'm a part of it.
I've been on this site for 32 years, you know. This whole parcel of land was granted to the Borough of Willesden by the All Souls College, Oxford. Hence you've got All Souls Avenue, College Road on either side. So over the years they wanted to build on it, but you know, I formed the College Green Preservation Society in 1988, and we, with the help of other people in the neighbourhood, we've stopped them building it. And in my opinion, this is the nearest allotment, proper allotment to the West End, you know, central London. You're 236 feet above sea level here, believe it or not. So, believe it or not, thousands of years ago, probably 10,000 years ago, this would have been the bank of the Thames, one of the banks of the Thames, because you're going downhill that way, all the way to Westminster and the Thames, you know. Yeah, you should take a photo of that. People do take photos. Yeah. It's built in the 1960s, believe it or not, but it's collapsing. It's sort of sinking into the earth, you know. But I think it's quite cute myself, you know.
So my mum, an amazing woman, she came to England by the skin of her teeth on the kinder transport. She was very lucky. Her mother fought for her to get on the kinder transport. There are very few that were able so to do, and of course they had absolutely no money. She first came and stayed with her family, who took her in down in South London, but eventually she met my dad, and they married and lived down the Harrow Road, and where they lived has all since been knocked down. I think it was filled with bed bugs and stuff like that, slum clearance, and it seemed like a dream, but somehow they were able in the 50s to scrape a little bit of money together and buy a house on Hardinge Road, and they lived there until they died.
G's is a hairdresser's next to Kensal Rise train station. It's a black hairdresser's. G's been there since about 1972, 73, and he's an old man now, and he's the last man standing. He's there, he sits there with his mates, and it's like the old school black barbers.
We're talking about this pub, which is now called Paradise by way of Kensal Green. But it's only a very recent name that it was given in the late 1980s. Before that, on this place, we had a pub called the Old Plough, and that was there definitely before 1750. It's going back that long ago.
The Masons' Arms is an old establishment. It is where Freemasons, there are pictures of the Freemasons meeting, not the secret parts, but they're meeting in there, and you can see them in one of the rooms, you know, preparing to have their ceremonies. So it goes back a very, very long way, and as my understanding that it's between 80 and 100 years old, the building itself.
A big Irish community, because most people, when they came over here in the 50s and 60s, moved primarily to Kilburn, but it was Willesden as well, Harlesden to a certain degree. I came over here in 1960, so we moved to Willesden, and it was a great population of Irish people. You know, we went to the local Catholic church, and that's where you met all the Irish people. It was a big community there.
The opening of All Souls Cemetery in 1833. It was one of the first so-called Magnificent Seven cemeteries which were built outside London, because in the Victorian times London was growing so fast that they were quickly running out of burial grounds in churchyards to bury people in. So they formed a cemetery company which started buying up plots which was outside London at the time. So over the years the cemetery quickly assembled very notable people like engineer Isambard Kingdom Brunel, writers William Makepeace Thackeray, Thomas Hood, Anthony Trollope, they're all here, Wilkie Collins, who was the inventor of the novel, a lot of famous Victorians. The cemetery does tours regularly, and it's like the best way to learn about the life in Victorian England because they're all here.
So Sean, you've just done the whole trail.
I have. There's the proof I've ticked off. Do I get a prize at the end?
You should get a prize. The prize is the experience.
It is.
The experience. So how did you find it?
I found it quite easy, and it's just fascinating to sort of stand there, and you can hear people sort of saying about the flowers on the lamppost was because of somebody had died at the tennis court, and the flowers are still actually there. And then you go up to Kensal Green, I think it is, and somebody's talking about the view, and you can actually see history. Sort of, you can visualise the streets just falling apart and the fields just coming out, and there's a bit talking about the cows, milking the cows, and I got so into it I thought I could see a cow coming down the road.
That's brilliant, thank you very much. And I hope you enjoyed that. I'm really excited to share this with you actually. I'm really proud of that project. It was a really wonderful experience, and a massive thank you to everyone that was involved in it. Of course, the brilliant Kensal Rise Community Library, London Borough of Culture, and all the people that contributed, all the wonderful people who contributed. Not all of them are in the video, but I'll put some links below where you can check out the rest of the recordings. And as I always like to say, I look forward to seeing you on the next walk, wherever that may be. And no, I haven't the faintest.
Lord Bathurst was one of the fellows of All Souls College, and he did indeed have claws with which to pass bottles of alcohol at the table. Their tables must have been so huge.
A claw from where?
I thought it was like a Long John Silver claw, like a hook. That's why I thought it was like a hook. It would hook round a bottle.